If you're thinking about teaching abroad in Spain, this video is for you. I'm Jamie and I taught in Spain for 5 years. In this video, I'll share 10 tips to help you make the most of your time as an English teacher in Spain. And before we get to the first tip, I'd like to thank our sponsor, RVF International. I'll be sharing more about them later on in the video. Tip number 1, know which parts of Spain you want to work in before applying for jobs or programs. Spain is a beautifully diverse country with different climates, landscapes, and even languages. Here's a quick guide to help you decide where to teach in Spain. If you like cooler weather and are okay with rain, then consider regions in northern Spain like Galicia, Asturias, Cantabria, País Vasco, Castilla y León, La Rioja, Aragon, and Navarra. If you like it warm, consider regions in southern Spain and the east coast like Andalusia, Murcia, Extremadura, Castilla-La Mancha, Valencia, and Catalonia. Wanting to experience island life, there's the Islas Canarias and Islas Baleares. If you want to work on your Spanish, avoid regions with other languages like Catalonia, Galicia, and País Vasco. If you like city life, consider Madrid, which is where I taught for 5 years. Some regions have more jobs than others, and not all programs offer placements in every single region of Spain. I recommend narrowing down to your top 5 regions before starting your job search. Tip number 2, take advantage of holiday breaks to travel. Spain has around 14 public holidays each year, and some of these are long weekends known as puentes, which means bridges. These breaks are the perfect time to buy a cheap flight to another European country or even fly on down to Morocco. If you'd like to see more of Spain, you can travel by bus, plane, train, or car. Some programs have strict attendance policies, which means it's not easy to just take off a random Friday. That's why traveling during these different holiday weekends is so important. I recommend booking your holiday travels as early as you can because these periods are definitely a lot busier and they tend to book up. Tip number 3, be prepared to teach British English even if you're American. Most schools in Spain are using British curricula. An exception to this would be if you are teaching at an American international school or if you are able to choose your own teaching resources. You can expect the different schools to be using British textbooks with grammar and vocabulary from the UK, and this doesn't mean that you need to teach in a British accent or really change anything about the way that you speak, but do be aware that you need to teach these British grammar structures, which can be a little bit different if you're from a different country. Tip number 4, understand the types of teaching jobs in Spain. There are a few different ways to teach in Spain, but depends on your passport and your qualifications which ways you're eligible for. If you have EU residency and a TEFL certificate, you can apply to teach in private English language academies in Spain. These typically have smaller class sizes than public schools, and you can expect to teach a variety of ages and levels. These schools often have general English classes as well as test prep and business English class options too. To find these positions, you can look on actual academy websites, you can look on international job boards, and TEFL teacher Facebook groups. If you are actually a qualified teacher, meaning that you don't just have a TEFL, you actually have a teaching license or qualified teacher status, then you can apply to teach in international schools in Spain. These are quite competitive, so you want to have some experience before you do this. These are typically 2-year contracts, and you'll be working in K-12 schools, which have students from all over the world. You can find these positions by applying through an agency like Search Associates or TES. If you're a native English speaker with a bachelor's degree, the easiest way to teach in Spain is through a language assistant program. Depending on which program you apply to, you might be teaching in public, private, or charter schools. For these programs, you could be teaching English classes or other subjects like science and art, but in English. Language assistant programs typically are able to sponsor a student visa for you with working rights. There are a lot of different programs to teach in Spain, and some offer no support and some offer some support. If it's your first time going abroad, then I recommend checking out this video's sponsor, RVF International. RVF International is the #1 Teach English in Spain program and has helped hundreds of teachers from the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand relocate to Spain to teach English in schools all over the country. You might be working at a preschool in Madrid, a high school in the Canary Islands, or a middle school in Seville, just to list a few possibilities. RVF International offers one-on-one support for each person in their program, helping you secure a visa, an apartment, giving you a community, and so much more to ensure that the transition to Spain is as smooth as possible. Right now is the middle of the application window, so you can schedule a free Zoom call by filling out the contact form in the description. Even if you aren't sure that teaching in Spain is right for you, contact RVF International as soon as possible to find out more about teaching in Spain with support. Tip number 5, know the application timelines, deadlines, and the hiring season. Getting a visa to teach abroad in Spain can be a long process, so it's important that you understand the different timelines and deadlines and when schools are looking for teachers. The Spanish school year runs from September until May or June, depending on the region. If you're applying to international schools, you need to look at applications starting in winter or spring for the following fall. If you're interested in teaching in language assistant programs, applications typically open between November and February, depending on the program, and many are a first come, first served basis, so you need to have everything prepared ahead of time. Private language academies might have hours that are more year-round, but many of them do shut down over the summer, especially in August, when many Spaniards are taking their summer holidays. If you want to work over the summer, you can also look into summer camps. Tip number 6, prepare yourself for paperwork. Lots and lots of paperwork. If you don't have EU working rights, you will need a visa to teach abroad in Spain. Every foreigner is assigned a number called a NIE, which is a foreign identity number. Sometimes this number is printed in your visa in your passport, and sometimes it's not, so you actually have to go through a process once you arrive in Spain to get this number. Depending on what kind of visa you have, if it's a longer stay visa, then you will get a physical card, which is called a TA, and this will have information such as your NIE, that number, as well as visa info, and you will use this as your residency permit while living in Spain. For most visas, you will need to start the process from your home country, and there might be some steps that you'll need to complete once you arrive in Spain. I know that the visa process can be very overwhelming and confusing when teaching abroad. If you have any questions, I recommend filling out my survey, which is linked down below, and I will email you back with some helpful links and tips. Tip number 7, know how to find housing in Spain. One of the main websites to find housing in Spain is Idealista. You can look for private housing as well as shared housing. You'll want to set up several viewings when you first arrive in Spain. If you want to improve your Spanish, I recommend living with local roommates. Another place to find information about housing in Spain is on Facebook. You can find different groups such as TEFL Teachers in Spain or groups for the different language assistant programs, and you'll find posts where people are asking about getting a new roommate or maybe someone to take over their lease, and even information about bad landlords. A final option is to wait until you arrive and ask around at your school. You never know who might be renting out a room or know something about a property that is for rent. Tip number 8, make an effort to meet new people. It can be very challenging to move to a new country and meet new people, especially if there's a language barrier. What I recommend doing is making a little challenge for yourself. Every single month, try something new. It could be going for a hike, going to a concert, attending one of Spain's local festivals. You just need to make sure that it is a habit and you schedule it in your calendar. If you're worried about the language barrier, you can always take weekly Spanish classes or find a language exchange partner. Tip number 9, come to Spain with enough savings. When teaching abroad, there are a lot of startup costs that you need to budget for. In Spain, this is going to look like your housing deposit, first month of rent, utilities, phone bill, internet bill, whatever you're staying in while you're looking for housing, whether it's a hostel or a hotel, and you typically aren't paid until the end of the month. Tip number 10, supplement your income by teaching private lessons. Teaching private students is very popular in Spain, but first you need to check to see if this is possible on your specific visa. Some visas will have restrictions on how many hours you can work per week. To find students to teach, you can look at websites like Tus Clases Particulares, you can ask around at your school, or just people that you meet, let them know that you teach English. I hope this video gives you a better idea of what it's like to teach abroad in Spain. You can check out my pre-recorded Teach in Spain workshop to learn even more. You can find me on Instagram at ESLTeacher365, and for other videos on teaching in Spain, check out my Teach in Spain playlist. Adios!